Hello, everyone. This is MC Deck Discussions, and I'm Abby Small. And I want to say that it's good to be back. I've been sick the last week and a half, and so haven't produced any videos for a little while. And good to get a chance to do so again here. Okay, just change it back to full screen mode here. All right, so we have here a Hulk deck, Justice, and it uses once again that permanent upgrade that I introduced in my previous Hulk video, and looking forward to sharing the results of utilizing this card again. Once I feel really good about playing with this card, finally feels like Hulk can compete with other heroes as far as playing against in my play testing. I did play test this against the same villains that I used recently. So that would be Claw, including using my expert house rule. Excuse me, didn't mean to click on Claw there. And using that expert house rule. If you scroll down to the bottom of the deck description, you'll see what that expert house rule is. Then I've got Black Widow and Sabanur, which is Apocalypse, and Magneto. All right, so let's get into the deck. So first of all, quick reminder about what this upgrade is. So this is a permanent upgrade that was created in order to be able to play Hulk and make him more viable, at least for those of us who felt like that needed to happen. So it's a permanent and is part of the setup. Tucked cards here may be played and spent as if they were in your hand. Has this response: after an identity-specific card is discarded by an ability, tuck that card under here from your discard pile. So two things of note. This is limit of twice per phase, so you can only do it once when you're, on your turn. Twice on your turn, and then up to twice on the villain turn. And it is only the identity-specific cards that you can tuck. All right, so let's look at this particular deck and why it ended up working so well. So I really enjoyed this deck. It did very well. Mostly undefeated. I had one game that I actually had to stop because I made so many mistakes playing against standard Magneto, and maybe I would have lost the game anyway, probably. But I just made so many mistakes in just play errors and, I don't know, it was ridiculous. So I ended up just stopping the game and starting it over. But outside of that, he was undefeated, and that was against these four villains. Once again, Claw, Black Widow, and Sabanur, and Magneto. So the allies in this deck are all the same type of allies. They are all X-Men allies. And this is meant to be a deck that can take advantage of flipping to both sides. Why is that? So, we want to be able to take advantage of this upgrade. And Hulk, on his hero side, has the ability to possibly take advantage of with this ability, right? First of all, he has 18 hit points, hand size of 5 on his hero side, and he has the enraged ability, forced interrupt. When your turn ends, discard your hand. So if he has, one or two of his identity-specific cards, those could end up tucked under here. And then also on his alter ego side where he has a hand size of 5, he has experimental research. And this is actually where I used his ability the most often. And that has this action: draw a card, choose and discard a card from your hand. And of course, the card I would choose to discard, if I had that choice, was an identity-specific card for Hulk. So then I would be able to tuck that card. So that was the most frequently used. That was when it was most frequently used for me, because most of the time I played all the cards in my hand in this deck. All right, so let's look at some key pieces to this card. So the goal is to be able to flip down regularly. So that does mean we have some confusion built into this deck, in this case from two of our allies, and that would be from Dazzler. Has this response: after Dazzler enters play, confuse an enemy. Also is a 4-cost ally, has 2 attack, 2 thwart, and 3 health. And then also we have Professor X. All right, 3-cost ally, and forced response: after Professor X enters play, you can confuse the villain, and that was the choice I made every single time in this deck. All right, and then in addition to that, we have 9 allies. Their primary purpose is to be able to thwart, right? So take care of the scheming, keep that under control. And of course, we have some confusion to help with that. And we have 2 other cards in the upgrades to help with that as well. So we have Counterintelligence, 2-cost upgrade, Preparation and Skill, max 1 per player, has this interrupt. When any amount of threat would be placed on the main scheme, discard Counterintelligence, prevent 3 of that threat. Most games I ended up playing this card once. And then under Surveillance, attached to the also 2-cost upgrade, attached to the main scheme, max 1 per scheme, increase the target threat value of attached scheme by 4. And once again, most of the time I ended up playing this just once. I think there was one time where I played it twice. Of course, it depends on the villain that you're playing, whether that's even possible. All right. So that's the main thing, is being able to take care of the scheming, prevent the villain from being able to complete the main scheme. And then we also have some ways to enhance their ability, or major way to enhance their ability to be able to take care of the threat. And that is through 3 copies of mission training. So 1-cost upgrade attached to an X-Men ally, max 1 training upgrade per ally. Attached ally gets +1 thwart and +2 hit points. That part's just as essential, since you can now use your allies to thwart multiple times. And the reason we're able to do so much thwarting with those allies is because Hulk has his 18 hit points, so he's able to take a lot of that damage, but also because of Banner's laboratory. So when we play this support, 2-cost support, Bruce Banner gets +2 recovery, and you can exhaust Banner's laboratory and generate a mental resource. So notice that Hulk is an Avenger and Gamma on his hero side, and he's Genius and Scientist on his alter ego side. So we do take advantage of that Avenger trait because we have Quinn Carrier in here, so we can get Quinn Carrier in for a cost of 3, generate a resource. And then Utopia is in here to support the X-Men, so that after an X-Men ally enters play, exhausts Utopia, ready an X-Men character. And if you ever happen to do it, which I don't know that it ever happened once I think maybe it happened once, the ally limit is increased by 1. We only have X-Men allies in here, so if each of your allies has the X-Men trait, increase the ally limit by 1. In addition, for Bruce Banner on his side, we have Disguise, and you can exhaust Disguise and your identity and remove 2 threat from a scheme. Right? So notice that is an action there. So basically, you end up giving Hulk and Bruce Banner the ability to, because it's an action, the ability to thwart. Just like anybody else, and do so for 2. So he gains that ability to help out with the thwarting when necessary. And I usually ended up doing so maybe once or twice a game. Sometimes not at all. Most of the time his job was to attack. But in a pinch, it gave him the ability to go ahead and do that. In addition to that, we included Plan B. So another upgrade, this case 1 cost. Hero action, exhaust Plan B and discard 1 random card from your hand, deal 2 damage to an enemy. So this card I played frequently. This was another way that I would often tuck cards underneath our upgrade here. So that was more often to be used than Hulk's hero ability when it came to tucking cards. Like I said, because most of the time I played pretty much all the cards in my hand. Okay. All right, we also included a skilled investigator in here to add a little bit of card draw, because overall this deck does not have any kind of real card draw. And we also included ingenuity to take advantage of that genius trait, so that we could generate a mental resource when needed, which is needed pretty often, right? So we want to get these allies out. Banner's Laboratory also allows us to generate a resource, at least when we're on alter ego side. And like I said, we were going to alter ego side rather frequently in this deck once we at least got things set up to do so. All right, so let's get into, the primary job of the allies is that thwarting, but they did have 2 other jobs. They were also meant to help with the minions. Hulk can have some issues dealing with the minions. He has some cards that can help with that, right? He has this Crushing Blow, right? A 1-cost event that can deal damage to an enemy equal to his ATK. And he also has Thunderclap, choose up to 3 enemies, deal 3 damage to each of them. But that one does cost 3, so it's rather pricey. But there are times that we use that, certainly to help out. As well. And then, but also they would help with the allies could help get rid of the tough statuses in order to allow Hulk to be able to attack, because he doesn't have any way to get rid of those tough statuses himself in any meaningful way. But he does have other important cards himself. You definitely wanted to prioritize cards that you were tucking under here and try to, in order to save them. Most of the time you didn't get a chance to, I didn't find that I got a chance to build up the number of cards that were tucked here, but when I did get that opportunity, I would do so. And every time I got the chance, I would get Hulk Smash, right? That's his 3-cost event. When you make a basic attack, you get plus 10 ATK for that attack. If you paid for this card using only a physical resource, that attack gains overkill, and that's what I typically wanted to do. So Hulk's job was to take care of the minions. So when he uses this card and pays for it with 3 physical resources, he can smash right through the minion and deal damage, do significant damage a lot of the time to the villain. So that was important because then you could constantly be getting damage done to the villain and make these games kind of speed up, right? And then another card that I prioritized was Limitless Strength, right, which is the resource that gives 3 physical resources, right? So those 2 cards team up really nicely, although Limitless Strength periodically helped out with Suborbital Leap. One of the things I love about this permanent upgrade is I feel like I utilize all of Hulk's deck, right? Banner's Laboratory becomes a key card to play. And in addition to that, I tend to play Suborbital Leap at least once a game. And that, that's a 3-cost card. But if you use 3 physical resources, you can get rid of 5 threat on a scheme. So I've usually found that I would end up using that card once per game. So as much as I could, I would try to save, this Limitless Strength for Hulk Smash, but that wasn't always possible due to the needs of the moment. All right, so overall, like I said, highly successful deck. This is my second recording, so now I actually can't remember what I said in the first recording, but he was basically undefeated against those enemies, other than one game I had to start over just because I made so many mistakes playing it. But overall, just a really fun deck. The ability to take care of, those are not easy. These are not easy villains to handle, and especially with regard to the threat. And there are really a lot of balance and control in this deck. Every game pretty much ended the same way. There would come a time when I knew that either I had to push things because the villain was getting just a little too dangerous, or most of the time what would occur was I would get to the point where I would have a Hulk Smash saved up and be able to start really going after the villain and end up finishing him off in, the next 1 or 2 turns, often helped out with these allies. So a lot of my final attacks would range anywhere from 18 up to the low 20s, most of the time, between his Hulk Smash, his own attack, right? So that's 13 points of damage. And he would get significant amount of damage from these cards as well, plus a little bit of Plan B here and there to do a couple points of damage. So it could really add up to a fair amount to finish off the villain. But one of the great things was, once I ended up with Under Surveillance in play, and if I had the villain just neutralized altogether, periodically I could use one of these allies to block, and I would just stay in hero side and just pound away at the villain and finish him off. So really fun. Like I said, there was one game, a little iffy. I may have been, I just made so many mistakes playing that game that I might have lost that game legitimately, but I ended up just stopping the game because I just couldn't keep track of all the mistakes I was making. All right, so with that in mind, let's see, make sure there aren't any other cards. I think that's pretty much it. So fun deck, I recommend this, or perhaps you can make some variation on it, but having a bunch of X-Men allies teaming up and be able to use mission training on every single one of them was highly effective. And getting in, these key supports. I wouldn't need, usually I end up with 2 of the 3 supports in there, and then I was usually set up pretty well. All right, have a good one, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and I love having conversations with people in the comment section.